Hello, I am Víctor Paredes and I wanted to share some behind the scenes with you about this video that we posted a few days ago. You can check it. I will put the link in the description to check it. But this is an animation. It is a teaser created by Sofron Varlamov. And many people were asking about the rigs, how they were done, and they were talking about how complex they look and how good they look, but also how complex. And with this tour, I want to show you some of the techniques that this artist used for the rig, and I will try to maybe prove you, hopefully, that these rigs are actually technically not too complex. They are very well done and they work very well for the scenes they are designed for. The artwork is beautiful and works very well for it. But if we analyze in technical terms, you can see that probably you will be able to reproduce this kind of rigs, which is very exciting because it means that if you're good animating and if you are good creating artwork, you can reach a similar level, hopefully. So let me show you first this rig. So for this character, you can see it has a head turn, and this head turn is saved. Actually, I'm going to reset here on frame 12 just to show you. I'm going to reset the bones, so I have like the default pose of this character, and you can see the character is originally drawn in this front position, and with this bone you can control the up and down, and with this other bone you can control the head turn. So you can see how the character turns. And if you are not familiar with Moho, what is happening here is actually that there is only one drawing, and this single drawing, actually let me zoom in here, this single drawing is being distorted to reach to this profile view, okay? But it is always only one drawing, so you are not seeing a series of different drawings put together on the timeline. It is only one drawing that is being distorted. And this works because if I select this layer, this is a vector layer actually, so I can use the layer selector here, which is this one, or I can just press Alt and right click. In this case, I'm going to use the tool to select, for instance, the nose here. And you can see how the nose is built with some points. I'm actually going to move some of the points so you can see how these are actually vectors that are moving. You can see also how the brushes are reacting to this movement. Okay, I will show that later. But when I see this character rotating, let me just select this point, for instance, only this point. You can see that that point is moving to the new position. So you can see it's always the same point that is being distorted. And there are some tricks here happening that I will show you later too. But this is how it works. So it's these points here. Also, you can see that this shape, I'm going to show to fade the unselected layers. So you can see only the color of the layer I have selected. You can see that this shape is a closed shape, right? But we don't have a line here in this connection. And this is done simply with this tool, the hide edge tool. If I click on that line, I can show or hide that line. So that is how you build many things in Moho, like arm separations or different pieces like ears, when you want them to look like they are connected to another shape. So you don't want to show that extra line, you just click here, okay? And I can hide any of the lines here, all right? This property is not animated, so you can only hide them once for your animation, and then you have to deal with that, okay? Let me just remove the keyframes. Everything I changed here, the point movement happened on the timeline for this nose, okay? So this layer has its own keyframes, so I can modify that on top of whatever the character is doing. So even when the character is looking here, let's say, okay, from this position, I'm going to reset or to freeze the animation of this layer here, And then for the next position, let's say I want this character to have a much longer, I'm sorry, this is very ugly, but I just want to show you how this works. So I want this nose to look like that now, so I can just animate that on top. All right, and it works with the rest. Okay, I'm going to remove this animation for now, so I just select these keyframes and delete them. Okay, I just wanted to show you how this works. Now, this animation of the nose and the animation of the entire character is saved into a smart bone. So now I'm going to select the bone layer. This bone layer contains all the layers of the character here. So when I select the bone layer, I can select this bone. You know, this is the bone controlling the rotation of the character. So I can select this bone and I can go to the window menu and open the actions window, right? And you can see we have a few actions here, okay? The actions that are related to this bone, to the bone I have selected, they will be highlighted here, so you can see them in green. So I'm going to open one of them just by double clicking them, and you can see the timeline is blue now. That means I am inside of this action. And here you can see what the character is doing. So basically what the artist did here, it told the software every time this bone rotates to the left, I want the points to move in this way. So if I look, for instance, if I select again the layer of the nose, here you can see the keyframes of the nose. So here is where the nose was saved, okay? And the same happens if I select, for instance, the eyebrows and the eyes layer. You can see how the eyes are moving here. So this is just point animation defining that rotation, okay? So this is how the character moves from one side to the I mean from the front view to the left. I could change that. So let's say I want to do something silly. I want to take this point and put it here, okay? For some reason I want something like this. Now my action looks like this, and if I go back to the animation I already have, that modification will appear when the character is rotating, okay? Because that is saved into the smart bone, and the smart bone is being triggered during the animation, so it's showing that. So let me just open this action again. I am again in the blue timeline, so I am editing the action. I'm actually going to undo with Ctrl-Z the modifications I made. So now I have this again, okay? But basically you can see this is how this animation is saved into this smart bone. Now this bone has a second action, and this is called B12. You can see this bone has the name B1. This is the default name this bone had. You can change the name of the bone, but it works in this case. So I'm going to open the second action for this same bone, because a bone can have two actions, one for each direction the bone can rotate. So one for the left, another one for the right. So I'm going to open the second one, and we can see the same. You can see that the bone is rotating to the right and the character is turning with it. So you can see how the points are moving even more. You can see that there are a few keyframes. So there are actually like 3 extra keyframes here on the timeline, and that is what is turning this layer to the right. Now something else that is happening here, if I zoom in, is that you can see the vectors of the eyebrow here are outside of the head, but the head, which is here, is masking the eyebrows, okay? So that is why you don't see this eyebrow. If I turn off the masking, I can do that by simply clicking here. You can see how all the layers look without the masking. Let me actually uncheck the fade unselected layers here. So here you can see how the character looks without the masking, and now I can activate the masking here. Okay, so basically to simulate that the eyebrow is always inside of the head, you just mask that layer inside of the other layer. That's it, and that process is very quick too. So I have this rotation, okay, and now you can see the mouth. Something special happens with the mouth here. So let's see if we can discover what is going on here. So we have this white shape here that is being masked inside of the head. So you can see it doesn't go out of the head, or it's not being shown. But then on the head itself, you can see he added some extra points that appear here. So let me just select those points so you can see them. So these are all like simple but clever techniques that he applies. These points are set here at the beginning, so you can see they are here. But at some point of the animation, they just jump to be next to the mouth. So now with these points, the artist can generate this hole of the mouth, okay? So it's just a trick, okay? Probably for a more complex scene, this approach wouldn't work because it won't be flexible enough. But it works for this kind of animation, for what the artist wanted for this scene, okay? Another way, just so you know, another way he could have done this, I'm going back to the main line here, double clicking here, just to show you. Another way to do it in Moho is that, let's say, I'm going to draw another mouth here. Okay, so this is just a circle for it. In this case, I'm going to paint it with this color. And I could tell the software that this circle is subtracting from the head. Okay, so let me just show you here what is going on. So when I subtract from the head, I am creating a hole here. Let me actually isolate the head so you can see it better. So I select the head again. To isolate layers, I just pressed Alt on the layer I wanted to show, and that hid every other layer. And then I wanted to see this group, so I press Alt and click here to show or hide all the rest of the layers, just so you know. So I select this, and now you can see I have this hole here. So I could have, of course, my example is not going to be so pretty as the original one, but let's say I have this mouth and then I simulate this character rotating. I could just take this mouth and put it here, and now I have that hole already done. And if I hide the vectors with this little button, you can see how the line continues there with that hole. So that was another way this could have been done, but yeah, it wasn't done that way. So let me just revert this file to go back to the original one. So we have that action. Something here, I think that happens with the nose when it rotates here. I'm opening the action here again. Something that happens with the nose. Let me see. I think it actually happens on the animation itself. If I go to the main line. No, I don't know what is going on here. Let me check. Okay. All right. I thought this was more complex than what it actually is. But you can see that when the nose moves to the right, there is this hole appearing here for the line. This is actually another shape. I want to select this shape with the select layer tool. Is this shape, and it is just animated by hand. So you can see at the beginning of the animation. Let me just find where that shape is. If I select this shape, let me see, it's here. So it's outside of the canvas, I mean of the camera view. So this shape is just here, and then when it is needed, the artist just add keyframes to put this shape here. So this shape is just covering the nose to generate that separation. If that shape is not here, then you will see that line. Okay, but that's all. It's just a clever trick. Okay, so in this kind of animation, I think it is nice because when you are working for a scene and you are doing like a very simple rig, but a very simple rig that is quick to do, but that will work great for the scene, you can create this kind of patches. Okay, if you're working on a TV show and you need you need a character that you can recycle for many scenes, then you will have to look for a different approach. And actually, one approach that you could use, I think, let me see if that works. If I select the nose I could use the, what is the name of this tool? The stroke exposure tool. So if I click on this line, now I can show or hide some sections of the line, and I can animate that. So I could do something like this, I think. Yeah, I don't know, maybe if you plan this better, you could have this working better, but this is another option that could work. This tool, it needs the first point to be here in the middle to work. So I think in this case, this technique will need some more preparation, but yeah, but there are different ways to do this, okay? All right, so we have the smartphone here. Now I want to jump to something simpler that is happening here. We have also the skeleton of the character. You know, the character is moving with the smart bones, but also it has a skeleton that moves. So we have the main bone that actually moves only the arms, and then the head is independent to this, all right? This is a decision of the artist. For some reason, the artist didn't want to have the head connected to the body, but it could actually be connected to the body, and the same for the arms, but it is not. So what is happening here, for instance, if I move the hand, you can see that the hand, I can move the shoulder, I can move the arms. It's very simple, and I can move the hand here. And you can see how this piece, like this belt, is bending here. And this is bending because if I go back to frame 0, and if I select this layer, again, I could use this tool to select different layers on the canvas, or I can simply press Alt and right click on the layer I want to select. But basically you can see that this belt is done with a few points here. So it's just like a long rectangle with a few points. And these points, these 4 points here, they are just bound to the hand. So if I select the bind points tool, you can see that the hand is shown, the bone of the hand is shown with this color, and these 4 points are also sharing that color. So that means for the software that these 4 points are bound to this particular bone, all right? So that's why when I move the hand, this part also moves, okay? And since this is just a vector, it bends very nicely. It keeps the curvature working because these vectors, they just have a curvature. Let me just select this layer. Let me just go back here. I will select the layer here. So you can see how the points, they are just bending because they have a curvature already. So whatever the character does, it will affect that curvature. Let me show you here with a different curvature. And now you can see how the software adapts to that curvature, which is very cool because you can have some very soft shapes very quickly in Moho. And if you don't want something soft, you can always just select those points and say, you know what, I want them to be very sharp. So I can set these points to be sharp. And now it is not curving anymore. It is just sharp. And you can always animate that during your animation. Like every channel is animated here. So this is when we talk that Moho has vector tools that are optimized for animation. It means first that you can animate the points themselves. You can change the shapes. You can change the color. You can modify some properties of the brush, the opacity, different things. But also it means that the vectors, they adapt to the movement you are doing. Okay, so the software automatically bends everything in a soft way, and if that soft way is not working, you can always modify that to work in the way you want. And let me actually revert again this file. If I want a very specific way to bend this, so let's say I want to tell the software when this hand bends like this, I want something particular to happen to that belt. What I can do is I can open the actions window. Okay, I have the bone layer selected. I select the bone of the hand. Okay, in this case the bone is called B8, but it will have any name. I will call it like hand 1 now, and I will also show the label here, so you You can see the bone here is called hand 1. So now I can simply select that bone and I can create an action for it. So you can see the action is also called hand 1. So that means this action is going to be related to that bone. So now the timeline is blue. And here I can tell the software every time this hand rotates here, maybe I want two things to happen. The first one is I want this belt to bend a bit more like this, and maybe the other side is going to bend more like this. Yeah, like that, and maybe I want it to be a bit thicker there. And maybe I want to also modify this part of the body, so maybe I want this part of the body to adapt to that movement of the hand. So I will just do that. And now the hand, there is a line here I want to adapt also. So anyway, I have this. So now I have this action that modifies how everything is bending with the hand. So now if I go to the main line and I animate this hand, you will see that this is exactly what is going to happen every time I bend that hand. So that's what I mean, like this, technically these rigs are very simple. They are quick to build, but of course you need to have the talent of the artist and the talent of a rigger to know how to quickly build simple things. But there is nothing extremely complex happening here. The same for this part of the hand. You can see that if I select this layer, let me just fade the unselected layers. I'm just selecting this layer, and these are just a couple rectangles that are being masked inside of the other one. So with these rectangles I can play with different things, like the perspective, for instance. I could just rotate this like that and simulate there is some perspective being applied there, and I could apply that to the other side too. Maybe I could just select this and simulate that these points are rotating in the other direction. So you could get something like that. Maybe save that into a smart bone too. So you could have that happening. And I'm not going to do this, but I could create an oval behind this to simulate the other side of the cloth at the other side of the hand. So you could quickly do that, and you could quickly animate that using a smart bone or just moving the points. Okay, let me just revert this again. I'm going to be reverting these files again and again. I don't want to save them by mistake because I'm really breaking them. But now you can see how this animation is done. So you have the character rotating to the left using the smart bones, then it's closing the eyes a little bit, and then it's rotating to the right. And it's also blinking. So you can see the character blinks here. And that blinking is simply done by moving the points of the eyes. So the artist went here to the middle of the animation and just animated those points. So you can modify even those blinks. So maybe you can change some stuff. Maybe I want them to be, I don't know, longer. Maybe I want the line to be thinner. I can modify that too. So you could modify different things. I can change the eyebrows. Let's say it's like a stronger blink or whatever. Or maybe while it is blinking, I want the nose to do something too. So maybe it's just breathing there. So you have that animation now done. So this is what is cool about using smart bones and using simple rigs, is that you can animate the overall movement using the bones, and then you can go to the details by just moving the points. And this is something that happens, for instance, I'm going to keep this modification for now, but this happens with the hair. You can see that the hair here, it moves, it bounces a little bit, it reacts to the rotation. All that reaction, you could have bones to do that. You could apply dynamics bones, which is a way in which the bones move automatically following the movement. But in this case, the artist went with a very, very simple solution. He just animated that layer. So you can see here I just selected this piece of hair, and it is just animated like that. So we can go more extreme if we want. We can just modify that, modify the curvature. And now, of course, I'm breaking the animation, but you can see how this is working here. It's going way longer And now maybe here I want this hair, I don't know, to move down like this and to be longer too. I'm totally breaking this animation, but I just want to show you how flexible this is. So in Moho, you can redraw things. You could switch one layer at any moment of the animation and switch it by another one. You could, if you want to have a different drawing for the eyes, or a different drawing for whatever part you want. But in general, you can do a lot by just modifying the points. Okay, so yeah, I broke this, so I'm going to revert again. So yeah, this is what is happening also with the mouth. So the mouth is closing here. If I select this layer, you can see this layer has keyframes here for closing the mouth, and then for the last expression there. But that's it. And then I'm going to go to the other rig here. Okay, this this animal here. Okay, so you can see I have actually a very simple rig with IK, with a chain of 3 bones here for the IK, some bones for the tail. Okay, this character is not even connected. I have 2 parts of the character. They are disconnected, but they are animated together in this case. Okay, so I think the artist did that so he could move the bat and the front view and the front part of the character together. I mean separated. But in this case, it's not doing much. Okay, now something that is happening here. Let me just show you. So if you take these 3 bones, you can see these 3 bones are actually modifying this layer. Okay, so this particular layer is following these 3 bones. Okay, and it works well, but if you go to extreme, you will see some issues here. You could use a curver for this too. If you want to keep the curve smooth, you could just select the tail. Let me just isolate that. Here, I could just select the tail. I have it selected. I'm going to go to draw and create a compressible curve layer. So with this, I'm just going to put a few points here and here, and now I have a curve for this tail, and I'm going to tell the software this curve is going to follow this bone, and this bone. Okay, you can find tutorials about curves on our YouTube channel, so you can find them there, but I just want to show you how quickly you can do this. I'm going to link the bones, and now they are able to move things. So you can see now that if I bend them, the bending is looking way nicer, because what is happening actually is that these bones are moving the curve, and you can see how the curve is following a very nice curve, and then that curve is modifying or is distorting the points there. So yeah, you can get like a smoother tail there. Of course, I broke the movement, but you can get a smoother tail. Another nice thing about using the curve is that, let's say I'm doing this animation and I don't like how this curve looks when I move the bones. I can always go to the curve and I can adjust the curve on top of the bone, so I can modify the curvature so it will curve differently, or I can even modify the thickness of the curve, so I can define if it is thinner or wider. Okay, and now this is added on top of the animation. Okay, I just wanted to show you how a curve could work here. It wasn't necessary for this scene, so you can see the scene is already working here. So yeah, I think that's mostly it. Everything else is just like point binding, so you can see the rope here is actually bound to the head of the animal, to this little bone, so I can just animate that rope here, and to the hand. Okay, so this is a rope that only has 3 points. This point is bound to the head, this point is bound to this bone, and this point is bound to the other hand. And then everything moves smoothly following the curve when I move any of these characters. You can see there. Sorry, I'm just breaking this. All right. Let me see if there is anything else interesting here. Okay. Now let's see what is going on with the brushes. So you can see the line is boiling here. Okay. And I'm going to go to the advanced style window to see this. Okay. And now if I select any of the shapes, let's say I'm going to select this line shape. You can see it is selected now with the select shape tool. When I select this, I can see the style applied on top of this is the Nomad style. Okay, this is a style that the artist created. A style is Moho is like a material, so you can add different material properties to it. You can add a brush, you can add a color, you can add thickness, you can add line boil. Okay, you can add many things to this style. The nice thing about using styles is that if you want to modify something later, instead of going to every shape and modifying each one of the shapes by itself, you just go to the style and you edit the style. So this is what I want to show you now. So if I go here to the styles, I can select the style, the Nomad style here. And you can see this style has a thickness associated to it. So I can increase or decrease the thickness of it. So let me just show you like a very thick character. And now you can see everything in the animation is still working, but the thickness is different now because I'm just modifying the thickness here. Okay. In this case, this is not linked to a color, but I could link it to the color. So I could say, you know what, I want all the lines to be red or all the lines to be blue or whatever. So I can modify that too. So I'm going to cancel this now and I'm going to uncheck the color because I don't want to control the color. And now something that is interesting is that this character also has a brush. So if I click here, you can see this is the brush that is being applied to the entire character. I could change the brush of the character. I could change it that I could modify whatever values these other brushes have. So maybe I want to add I want the brush to be a bit uneven, maybe more spacing. So you can see I'm just modifying this brush altogether. I could align this with the line. Yeah, and then we have the line boil. So when I click on the line boil, I can tell the software the interval in which I want this line to boil. Let me just cancel this. I'm going back to the original brush. And you can see that the line boil of this brush has an interval of 1. So if I click OK, and now I hit play, you can see this line is actually boiling on every single frame. Okay, but I could change that. I could set the line boil to be on trees. So now if I press OK, even when the character is moving on once, the line boil is going to happen every 3 frames. The line boil for the brushes at least. Now there is another thing that this character is doing, and is that on top of the line boil, the vectors are also moving. The vectors have a little noise. So maybe you can see that the position, if you look at the eyes, for instance, the position of the eyes is changing a little bit. And that is because if I open the layer properties of this by double clicking the layer, I can go to these are the properties of this layer I have selected. If I go to the vectors tab, you can see the vectors, they have noisy outlines, noisy fields, animated noise, and some other properties here. So you can see how they have a noise that is working on ones. I can set this to work on trees too. So if I press OK, now this layer is already going to boil on trees. All right, and you could set your animation to work on trees too. In this case, this animation is working on ones, so that means it's interpolating on every frame. But if you want to animate on twos or trees, you can also do that, and you can even set the keyframes to work on that. So I could set, let me actually remove the animation from this I want to clear the animation from the document here. So there is no animation here. There is just the boiling happening, but actually I'm going to filter all the vector layers. I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to go to the properties of all these selected layers, go to vectors, and I'm going to set the interval to 0, okay? And I will set the interval of the style to, let me just be sure I have the style selected here, and I will set the interval of the style to 0 also. And now I'm going to create an animation on trees. So I will set 3 here as the default interpolation. And let's say I will create a keyframe here, and then another keyframe here, there. So now I have this animation that is moving on trees. Okay? So it has a different feeling when it moves on trees. And since I set the noise and the line boil to be on 0, that means the line boil is only going to happen while the character is moving. So if I move the character on trees, the line boiling is going to happen on trees too. Okay, let me just look for another file here. Okay, let's see this scene. Oh no. I'm going to close this and I'm going to open this scene. All right. So we have this character here. The way this is built is very similar to the other one. The main difference is this character doesn't even have any smart bones. So you can see all the animation is actually done with the bones. Okay, and the expressions are done with point movement. So if I select the eyes, for instance, you can see how the character is blinking with that movement. All right, something that could be useful, in this case this scene doesn't have it, but let me just show you. If I select this bone, you know, this character has this, I don't know how to call it, but these things on next to the ears. Maybe they should, since they have some weight, they should be pointing down when the character is moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these 3 bones, and this, and this, and I'm going to set them to have independent angle here. So if I close this, now when I move the head, you can see that they are always going to point down. So I don't need to worry about animating them, because it doesn't matter how the body moves or the head moves, these bones are always going to be pointing down. So that can save some time for animation, and it can give a nice feeling of gravity to the scene. Okay, and you can combine that again with bones pointing down, and then some dynamics. So you have dynamics and the bones always pointing down, and I can still animate these bones. So let's say if I animate the angle of this and I point to the right, the software will always keep this bone pointing to the right. It doesn't matter what the character is doing. Okay, so this is a very little but very useful feature. This character also uses styles and brushes and all that, so I don't think there is much else to see here. So let me just close this. Now we have this other file, and this character actually, it has 1 bone. So it has only 1 bone that moves the head. There is no more of rigging here. So everything, all the movement that is happening here is actually just point animation. So if I look at the cloth here, you can see how the points are moving to simulate some wind. So we can go more extreme if we want. Yeah, let's say something like that, and then I can select the layer below that just to show this. So yeah, now we have the wind doing that. It doesn't make much sense. I think I just broke how fluid the animation looked, but you can see this is actually how this is done. It's just point animation. Even this tilt of the head is just the points going from one pose to the next. And here we have this nice hair animation. It's just point movement. So again, like let's say you import, you create a character directly in Moho. You can draw directly in Moho, or you import your character from another vector software. You can also do that and import all the layers. You don't even need to create an actual rig. You don't even need bones. You could just import your characters, move the points in the way you want, and maybe the scene will be done. So yeah, there are many ways to animate with this, and I think this approach of extremely simple rigs, if there is any rig, to create this kind of complex animation, or not, maybe not complex, but this kind of subtle animation, it works very well, especially if you go scene by scene, and it is way faster than creating it frame by frame. Okay, like doing the rough, doing the cleanup, doing the ink and paint, and all the rest of the process. Yeah, because you are already animating the final look of the character. Okay, so yeah, you don't always need an extremely complex rig to create a nice scene. Let me just open this other file here. I saw someone commenting that they needed a tutorial about hands and how to rig hands because of this hand here. But honestly, what is happening with this hand, I mean, you know already how the rest is working. Something interesting here is the smart bone for the mouth. Look how nicely the mouth moves here. And this is because if I open the actions window, I can select this bone, I can open the action for this bone just by double clicking it. And you can see that it is telling when this bone rotates here, I want the mouth to be here. I can change that. I can say maybe I want this longer, or I don't know. I'm trying to find something. Maybe I want this to be here. I know this is very silly, but if I go back to the main line now, that is going to happen. Okay, so I know this is kind of offensive for the artwork of the artist, but I just want to show you how simple to create that is, and you can modify this again. If I open the action, maybe I want the nose to also inflate a little like that. So now every time this moves, that will happen. Okay, look how quick that is. Anyway, I wanted to show you the hands. So the hands are extremely simple. If I move this hand here, you can see I have some bones for each finger. And that's it. There is not even a smart bone, so if I bend them too much, it doesn't work. But these are just points of the hands. These points are, let me just isolate this hand so you can see it better. You can see that this green bone, these 2 points are bound to this green bone, and this other bone has these other 3 points bound to it, so they just follow it. Okay, and we could even create smart bones for this. Let me just, if I select for instance this bone, I could create a smart bone for it and tell the software every time this bone rotates here, I want the fingers to look more like this, so I can change the curvature, the position. Okay, I can make several modifications here. So maybe, okay, let's say I'm happy with this. So now if I go back to the main line and I look at this finger, every time I bend it, it will do that. Okay, so again, I don't think we need, at least not a tutorial for creating this kind of hands. You can see already how simple they are. They are just points. The points are bound to different bones, so you can control them with different bones, but that's it. I mean, having that, you already can create this this kind of scene. And I think like the intensity of the scene doesn't come from the rig, it comes from the artwork and from the subtlety of the animation itself. Okay. Okay, this will be the last file I show. Let me just close this. So this is the design here is simpler because this is actually part of the scene that is way farther from the camera. Okay, so that's why they look simple, but you have a work cycle for both the character here. And again, like this character is extremely simple in technical terms. There is not much happening, and you could modify this work cycle. Let's say I want to raise the leg more, and maybe, yeah, at this point I want it here. I know I'm breaking the animation here, but I just want to show you how flexible this is. And I'm actually animating on trees. Let me just change this to ones. All right. So you have this, and maybe I'm going to do the same with the other leg. Like that. All right, so now my work cycle is like that. Okay, I know I broke the animation again, but I just want to show you how simple it is to change this animation and to give it a totally different personality. Yeah, they're way better now. And in this case, the artist didn't use any target bones to do some IK for the legs, but you could add that too if you want. Personally, I prefer to animate work cycles using the IK. I think I get more flexibility, especially if I want to create like some ups and down. If I want to create some ups and down, but keeping the legs on the ground or the feet on the ground, that helps. But in this case, I think the work cycle was the artist had so clear how they wanted this work cycle that it wasn't even necessary. I mean, again, like what I see in this project is an artist always trying to avoid complexity in terms of the rig. Like try to do the best rig for the scene, and that's it, and don't overthink about it. Okay, just to finish, I'm going to show the video, because let me see if I can find it. Because sometimes when I record these videos, some people complain that I don't show the actual video, and they are right. I should be showing the actual video. So here is the final animation of this teaser. So you can see all this working together. There are some characters. We don't have the file for some of the characters, but you can see how all this works together for the teaser. Let's watch it again. You have time. There you have it. So yeah, maybe the advice here after this tour is if you can, keep it simple and animate the details using points. Create simple rigs and worry more about your artwork and your animation, and let the software to, or let the tools to do some of the cool things they can do. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something with it. Bye.